They say when a marriage ends, it rarely begins with a fight. It starts with something quieter. Something so subtle you don't even notice it until you're drowning in it. For me, it started with a smile. Nancy's smile, to be exact. It was a Tuesday morning in late March. The kind of Colorado morning where the sun's out, but there's still frost clinging to the edges of your windshield. I was in the kitchen of our Mountain View home just outside Boulder, scrolling through a shipment backlog on my tablet and waiting for the coffee to finish brewing. Nancy came in wearing her usual oversized cashmere sweater, still barefoot, her hair tied up in that loose, elegant way she always managed. She walked to the counter, poured herself a cup, and leaned back like she didn't have a care in the world. "I've got that retreat next weekend in Napa," she said casually. "The one I mentioned? All the creative heads are going. It's kind of a big deal." I looked up from my tablet and nodded. "Oh yeah? Sounds nice." That's when she smiled. It was subtle, but I felt it in my gut. Nancy's real smile, the one I knew from when we were 25 and still broke, started in her eyes. This one didn't. It was tight, rehearsed. Her mouth moved, but her eyes stayed cold, controlled. "You should probably stay behind," she added, sipping her coffee. "Honestly, it's mostly panels and working dinners. You'd be bored out of your mind." It was said so naturally, like she was doing me a favor. But that was the second red flag. Nancy loved having me at these things. She always said it made her feel grounded when I was there, like she didn't have to keep up the Madison Avenue act the whole time. I didn't push. I just nodded again, masking whatever I was feeling with a half smile of my own. Yeah, no big deal. We went on with our day like nothing happened. She left for the agency's Denver office around 9, and I stayed home, finishing up some numbers for a freight capacity deal I'd been brokering with a partner in Salt Lake. On paper, my life looked perfect. Executive title, corner office downtown. A modern home with glass walls and heated floors. I was married to a successful woman who knew how to make a room pay attention. We had a smart, beautiful daughter studying marketing at USC. Our holiday cards looked like something out of a lifestyle catalog. But that smile wouldn't leave me alone. I replayed it in my mind all morning. Too smooth, too staged. Nancy didn't fake things often, but when she did, it was always because she didn't want me to see something real. That afternoon, I walked past Ellie's room on my way to the garage. Her door was cracked open, and she was on FaceTime, sprawled out across her bed. I caught her voice mid-sentence. "She's finally doing it." I froze. Who was she? Doing what? I couldn't hear the other side of the call, but Ellie laughed and said, "No, she's not going to say anything yet. He has no clue." My stomach dropped. I stepped back slowly, careful not to let the wood floor creak. I didn't want to startle her. Didn't want her to know I'd heard. I spent the next 10 minutes pretending to look for a wrench in the garage, my mind spiraling. Had I just misunderstood? Was it about school? One of her friends? Something dumb and harmless? But I knew it wasn't. There's a shift that happens in a marriage, somewhere between year 10 and 20, when the daily routine becomes muscle memory. You stop noticing the way someone looks at you when you walk into a room, until they don't anymore. That's what was starting to gnaw at me. Nancy hadn't really looked at me in months. That night, she came home later than usual. She said the pitch meeting had run long. I said something about leftover Thai in the fridge, and she kissed my cheek absently before disappearing upstairs to shower. I stood there for a long time, holding the takeout box, listening to the water running overhead. I didn't have proof of anything. No texts, no receipts, nothing concrete. Just a tight smile, a loaded sentence from my daughter, and a feeling in my chest like the air was slowly being S***ked out of the room. Over the next few days, things felt different. I started noticing details. Nancy was glued to her phone more often, texting with that little half-smile she usually reserved for creative briefs she actually liked. She started wearing perfume again. Not the subtle floral one I always associated with her, but something new, sharper, louder, the kind of scent that walks into a room before you do. And Ellie, for her part, was suddenly more aloof than usual. She didn't ask me to help with her internship applications like she usually did. Didn't send me TikToks about marketing trends or text me pictures of her dog. When we talked, it felt like she was holding back, like she was afraid I might ask the wrong question. I didn't. Instead, I watched, listened, and waited. It wasn't the first time Nancy had gone to Napa for work, but this time, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't really work at all, that she wasn't just going to pitch campaigns and clink wine glasses with CCOs and startup founders. That something else, something private, was waiting for her there. I tried to let it go, told myself I was being paranoid, that I was reading into things because of one strange smile and an overheard conversation that might have meant nothing. But you know how sometimes, when a storm is coming, you can feel it in your bones before the clouds even roll in? That's what it felt like. A shift in the air. A silence before something breaks. And deep down, I think I already knew. I told Nancy I wanted to come to the retreat. We were brushing our teeth, side by side, in that dim, familiar light of our ensoot bathroom. She froze for a half second, just a flicker, but I caught it in the mirror. She didn't expect that. After a second, she turned to me with her eyebrows raised in that mock-surprised way she used when trying to play something off. "You? At a creative retreat?" she said through toothpaste foam, grinning. "Come on, Tom. You'd be bored to death." I shrugged. "Maybe, but it's Napa. I'll bring my laptop, check in on logistics calls in the mornings, hit a few tastings. You can work. I'll stay out of the way." She didn't respond right away, just spit into the sink, rinsed, and walked out of the bathroom. The next morning, she brought it up again while pouring her coffee. "Are you serious about coming?" she asked, not looking at me. "Yeah, I think it'll be good for us." That time, her smile didn't even reach her lips. Napa was beautiful as expected. Rolling hills of green and gold, winding drives through vineyards, and enough polished stone architecture to make it feel like a curated dream. We checked into a luxury resort just outside Calistoga. All eucalyptus-scented air and minimalist zen. Our room had a view that looked painted. Nancy was different the moment we arrived. She slipped into her work persona. Poised, stylish, composed. Everything about her was on. Her outfit, her tone, even the way she introduced me. "This is Tom, my husband, he's in logistics." Then back to her circle, back to the campaign talk, the branding jokes, the gallery references. It was like she'd brought me into a movie that had already started, and I was just an extra. The opening night mixer was held on a rooftop deck strung with glowing Edison bulbs and dotted with those outdoor heaters that look like modern sculptures. Music pulsed low in the background. Jazzy, cool, curated. The wine was endless. Everyone looked like they belonged in a magazine spread. It should have felt impressive, but instead it felt fake. That's when I saw her. Lauren. I'd met her before, briefly, at a company gala in San Francisco. She was Nancy's best friend from the agency. Sharp blazer, colder smile. There was always something about her that put me on edge. Not because of how she looked, though she was striking, but because of how she looked at Nancy. That night in Napa, they were magnetic. Lauren greeted Nancy with a kiss on the cheek, a hand that lingered on the small of her back. Their conversation was quiet, close. At times, Lauren would whisper something and Nancy would tilt her head back and laugh. Openly, with her whole body. I hadn't seen her laugh like that in a long time. I stood at the edge of the crowd, sipping a glass of Cabernet and watching like a stranger. Every so often, someone would come up and introduce themselves, ask what I did, make polite small talk. I smiled, nodded, played the role. But my eyes kept drifting back to Nancy and Lauren. It wasn't just the proximity. It was the rhythm, the way they moved in sync. They circled each other like gravity was pulling them inward. It looked like history, like habit. Then I saw Ellie. I didn't expect her to be there. She was supposed to be at school, but apparently she'd been invited to network with some of the company's younger creative interns. She was off to the side, sipping something sparkling and non-alcoholic, chatting with a girl I didn't recognize. But her eyes were on them, on Nancy and Lauren. And that's what got me. Ellie wasn't shocked, wasn't even curious. She looked pleased. She caught my eye and gave me a soft smile. Not her usual bright college kid smile. This one was almost pitying. I felt a knot form in my stomach. I moved closer to Nancy. She was laughing again, one hand resting casually on Lauren's forearm. When she finally noticed me, she tilted her head and said, "Oh, you remember Lauren." I shook her hand. She gave me a cool, measured smile. "Of course," she said. "Nice to see you again, Tom." Her grip was firm, her eyes unblinking. I tried to play normal. I joked about being the boring logistics guy in a sea of creatives. They laughed. I smiled. But the whole time, I felt like I was outside my own body, watching something unfold that I couldn't stop. After about 10 minutes, I excused myself and walked to the edge of the deck. The view was stunning. Rows of vineyards stretching into twilight, but I barely saw it. My mind was spinning. I'd been in rooms like this my whole life. Corporate events, industry mixers, conferences. I knew how people acted when they were trying to hide something. They didn't hide at all, they just got better at performing. That's what I'd just witnessed. Nancy and Lauren weren't hiding. They were performing so well, no one questioned it. No one except me. I turned back and saw Ellie again, still watching them. She looked at me for a long moment and then, without breaking eye contact, she lifted her glass slightly in a quiet, almost imperceptible toast. That's when I knew. Something was happening. Something I wasn't supposed to understand. Something I wasn't meant to interrupt. And for the first time in years, I felt completely alone. I didn't leave right away. After the retreat, after the fake smiles and awkward silences, I went home with Nancy. We shared a cab to the airport. She scrolled through emails. I pretended to sleep. I watched her the way someone might watch a ticking clock in a locked room, waiting for the explosion, waiting for the lie to collapse under its own weight. But it didn't. She was good. Too good. For weeks after Napa, she went back to routine like nothing had changed. Morning coffee, conference calls, passive dinner conversations. She asked about my day. She texted Ellie funny memes. She even suggested we take a long weekend in Santa Fe, just the two of us. But something in me had gone still, cold. I stopped asking questions, stopped trying to find proof. I already knew. I didn't need a smoking G*N. I needed a plan. So I started quietly pulling threads. It began with a friend of mine from college, now a cybersecurity consultant in New York. We talked in code. I gave him a burner phone, a thumb drive, and access to Nancy's cloud backups, which she had never bothered to secure. A few weeks later, the drive came back. And with it, everything. Messages between Nancy and Lauren. A separate email account. Hidden chats, calendars, location tags. Voice notes. Photos. Plans. I listened to one audio file on loop. It was Ellie, my daughter, laughing in the background as Nancy whispered to Lauren, "He still has no idea." I almost feel bad. Almost. They were planning to move in together. A loft in Soma. They were going to wait until after the transition, whatever that meant. Ellie was in on it. Hell, she was helping coordinate it. She said she was proud of Nancy, called her brave. I sat there in my office, staring at the monitor, that audio clip buzzing in my ears, and something in me cracked. Not loudly, but like ice breaking beneath your feet. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't confront anyone. Instead, I started pretending to lose. I fumbled details, acted distracted, forgot to pay bills, missed calendar invites. I said things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you, Nancy." I played dumb, played weak, and all the while I was rewiring everything under the surface. She never asked about our investments. She never questioned the trust accounts, the foundation paperwork, the holding companies. She'd never needed to because I was the logistics guy, the man behind the curtain. I used that. I drained liquidity from our shared accounts into offshore trusts quietly, legally. I refinanced the house, wrapped it in a shell company, and leveraged it for high-risk loans in her name. She signed the paperwork after a few glasses of Pinot, laughing. "I should really read these, huh?" I told her she looked beautiful and poured another glass. Then came the insurance policies, the dummy LLCs, the family fund that never really existed. I built a financial labyrinth around her, and she walked straight in. Next came Lauren. I made one anonymous call to her company's compliance hotline. I forwarded a few leaked emails. Nothing explicit, just suggestive enough to raise alarms. Her employer, a media brand with a holier-than-thou code of conduct, acted fast. By the end of the month, she was terminated. Quietly but completely. Her name stopped appearing in articles. Her projects disappeared from the agency's portfolio. No official scandal. Just a slow erasure. I sent Ellie's fiancé a carefully labeled folder. Just the one video. Just 1 minute of audio. Her voice, laughing at me. His silence was immediate. A week later, the engagement was called off. She posted a vague quote about letting go of what doesn't serve you. I canceled her tuition. Shut down the joint account. The call started then. Frantic, confused, crying voicemails. I never answered. Nancy got fired 2 weeks later. Not because of the affair, but because someone had finally traced the paperwork on the foundation. It looked sloppy. It made the board nervous. They voted her out. The house went next. The banks called in the loans. When she came to me, asking if I knew what was happening, I just blinked slowly and said, I don't know, honey. I've been so tired lately. The SUV was repossessed on a Tuesday. The cleaning service stopped showing up. She tried to call Lauren, tried to call Ellie. I don't know what she said, or if they even picked up. One day, she came home and I was gone. No note, no dramatic speech, no rage, just silence. A closet missing my clothes and a security system that no longer recognized her code. I vanished. No trail. No forwarding address. I'd prepped it all in advance. Moved funds, rerouted accounts, bought a modest off-grid place in Arizona under my cousin's name. I started consulting again under a different LLC, working part-time for a firm out of Flagstaff. No LinkedIn. No paper trail. I became no one. Months passed. I heard through whispers, friends of friends, that Nancy and Ellie were renting a small apartment in Denver, near the train line. Nancy was waiting tables at a diner off I-25. Ellie was trying to land unpaid internships to rebuild her resume. Lauren, last I heard, had moved to Austin and was living with her sister. Sometimes, late at night, I sit outside under the stars, the desert air dry and still, and I think about all of it. The lies, the betrayal, the laughter behind my back. And I feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, just peace. You don't come out of something like that the same person. You don't fix what broke. You bury it, build something new, and never look back. They lost a husband, a father, a friend. But I didn't lose anything. I let go of an illusion and gained something you can't steal or fake or ruin. Freedom.